In this re-recorded video, we're going to talk about what is OSINT, also known as open source intelligence. Now, this is a re-recorded video. If you're coming back to it, one of the students in one of the classes did mention that the audio quality was a little too quiet, and I apologize for that. I'm not sure what happened, so this is why I'm re-recording this, and hopefully the audio quality is a lot better. So let's get into what is OSINT, also known as open source intelligence. So, open source intelligence, or OSINT, is data collected from publicly available sources to be used in an intelligence context. In the intelligence community, the term open refers to overt, publicly available sources as opposed to covert, or clandestine sources. It is not related to open source software or public intelligence. And that's the Wikipedia entry for OSINT. Now, what can we find with OSINT? Well, we can find a lot of different things using open source intelligence. Things like email addresses, phone numbers, addresses, identities. It can be used for background checks, social media accounts, and information. We could do criminal record searches. We could figure out different scams and a lot of other things. So in terms of who would use OSINT, pretty much everyone can use OSINT on a certain level. Law enforcement will use OSINT to search out possible crimes and information. Security professionals, malicious hackers use OSINT. In terms of malicious hacking, that's referred to as reconnaissance, which is the first phase of hacking. Businesses could use OSINT to check up on competitors, things like geopolitical changes, climate changes. They could take a look at their employees. Investigators will use open source intelligence for things like doing background checks, finding things about people, finding missing people, and so forth. Journalists will generally use OSINT to do fact checking and dig up information on different stories. And home users could use OSINT for things like, determining if something's a scam, looking up information, just reading the news nowadays. There's so much information out there, it's hard to tell what's real and what isn't real. And you could use OSINT to kind of determine fact from fiction. Now, informational data use using open source tools, there's a lot of different tools out there for using OSINT. Things like CSI Linux, Maltego, Google Advanced Operators, news sites, etc. And we're going to be taking a look at all these different tools and how to use them, when to use them. So by piecing together information, it helps us build a much bigger picture. In terms of things like Facebook usernames, we could take a Facebook username. From that, we could generally figure out different Facebook posts, user email addresses, data breach dumps. We could take a look at password hashes, unique passwords, users' real email addresses. We can potentially figure out their real identity and location. Basically, what we're doing is we're gathering information and we're analyzing that information on our target, whether it's a person, whether it's a location, a story, or whatnot. And that data can lead, if we're dealing with people, to other users that interact with our target. And essentially by piecing together this information bit by bit, we're ultimately building a broader picture of what we're looking for. So in terms of employers checking on their employees, they may check social media. So in this case, a KFC worker was fired after a Facebook photo shows her licking potatoes. And the person that snapped the photo was also fired in this case. So employers may use OSINT to monitor social media activity related to their company or employees. So this can help employers figure out if their employees are potentially doing anything that it will damage their reputation. And in this case, they did find out something that was very damaging. Someone licking your food, potentially, or even if they're just pretending to and they're posting videos, that can have a very, very bad impact on your company, to say the least. So in terms of dating sites, men and women, if they're on a dating site, an individual may use OSINT to verify individuals they're considering going on a date with. And if that information is accurately representative of that person. So say a woman goes on a dating site and they see a picture of someone and they look at the photo and go, well, that's a good looking person. And they like the bio and they start chatting and things sound really great. Well, before they go on that date, they may use open source intelligence to start looking at this person and going, okay, is this person real? They could potentially take the photo, do a reverse image search, see if that's really them, start background checking their stories and information, and help determine if that person is scamming them or, God forbid, that they are a dangerous individual going on these dating sites and looking to hurt someone, whether it's a man or woman. Law enforcement or network administrators may be after malicious hackers, and you could potentially use OSINT to track down malicious hackers, scammers, and whatnot, and potentially what networks are tied to using open source intelligence. So a lot of times in my work, I come across people that send phishing emails or potentially scams information to different users. I'll use open source intelligence, one, to determine whether it is a legitimate email or text message, and then I'll generally take that information and go through and figure out kind of who they are and where they're at. So these are some uses for open source intelligence and kind of a broader view of what open source intelligence or OSINT is. Now, there's a lot of specific aspects of OSINT, things like SIGINT, which is signal intelligence, MASTINT. There is HUMINT, which is human open source intelligence. This is going to be a broad picture of open source intelligence. We're going to take a look at different tools and techniques for your general use of open source intelligence. And I'm really excited that you're taking this course. I appreciate it very much. And again, hopefully the audio quality is much, much better in this one. And if you run any questions with or have any problems with the course, always feel free to contact me. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.